In real life, the Switchblade is an iconic and deadly weapon that has been featured in movies such as Rebel Without a Cause, West Side Story, and Bum Fights 3: The Reckoning. In video games, however, switchblades are usually synonymous with low-tier garbage that aren't worth their weight in shit. Which raises the question, can you beat Fallout 4 with only a switchblade? I gaze at myself longingly in the mirror, name myself Marky Poo, because that's an actual name Cosworth will call you, and assign my special stats. I go for 10 strength, 10 endurance, and 4 luck, which will boost to 5 with the Your Special book for Idiot Savant. Shortly afterwards, I comfort my future murder victim, the apocalypse starts, I say goodbye to Cosworth, and then run to the vault like a pussy instead of Superman punching the nuke like a real man. My wife dies of natural causes, I wake up 60 years later, and trap the radroaches behind a door so I can exit the vault without killing them. I grab the switchblade embedded in the terminal outside Vault 111, make my way to Sanctuary, grab the Your Special book, and help Cosworth clear out some bugs. And by help Cosworth clear out some bugs, I mean loot the neighborhood for all it's worth while Cosworth does all the heavy lifting. I then run over to Red Rocket, ignore Dogmeat, clear out the mole rat's den, and tell Dogmeat to piss off to Sanctuary so Cosworth will have something to eat. Making my way down to Concord, I clear the raiders in the streets and leave Preston and friends to die horribly in the Museum of Freedom, much to the delight of Fallout fans the world over. Having done my good deed for the day, I make my way to Gorski Cabin, where I level up and take the first, and for this run-through, only, rank of Blacksmith. In the basement, I upgrade to a serrated blade, jumping from 16 to 28 damage, plus some bonus bleed damage. I run over to Walden Pond to test out my newly upgraded switchblade, and color me surprised, it's actually not that bad. Against low-level raiders, I'm able to kill them with only 1 or 2 pokes. With my ego inflated, I make my way over to College Square to cleanse up its ghoul problems, as well as help out Paladin Dance. I will be completing the game with the Brotherhood of Steel this run-through. Reason being is that I want to test my mettle against the mutants in Fort Strong, as well as not wanting to fight enemies in power armor, if I can help it. After looting the police station, Paladin Dance and I run down to ArcJat Systems. Inside we fight our way through some synths, which all go down at about 3 stabs, and make our way for the basement. There I proceed to let Dance fight an endless horde of synths for several minutes, then roast him alive, because fuck 'em, and then obtain the deep-range transmitter. Back on the surface, I join the Brotherhood of Steel, and Paladin Dance tells me to make my way back to the police station. I promptly ignore him and make my way to Diamond City instead. On my way there, I witness an automobile mating ritual, found a raider encampment, and proceeded to realize that the switchblade might actually be worth its weight in shit after all. At level 7, I'm one-shotting low-level raiders and can kill Mirelurks in 3 to 4 direct stabs. Once I'm at Diamond City, I stab my way through Piper's dialogue, buy the champion's right arm, peacefully end a standoff, and help Shang clean up a murder scene. Afterwards, I make my way to the Colonial Tap House to start Diamond City Blues. There I witness an ass-kicking, stab the bartender to death, and try and ambush a drug deal, but instead reenact the ending of Red Dead Redemption. Playing it smart this time, I snort some jet, murder the assholes in suits, and obtain enough drugs to kill 15 African elephants, or 1 Keith Richards. I stop back at Red Rocket to upgrade my gear, and then start making for the 4-leaf fish packing plant to complete Diamond City Blues. Thanks to convincing Trish to hand over the code to get in, and then killing her anyway, I can avoid the tripwire puzzle, stab the ghouls in hazmat suits, and complete the quest. I finish clearing out the fish packing plant, almost get killed by a gang in a school, and witness some environmental storytelling skeletons having an intimate moment. I then make a mad dash over to Hubris Comics to pick up all the Silver Shroud merch, and then proceed to get mauled to death by a glowing one. Remembering I have enough drugs to overdose every junkie in Boston, I snort some more jet and triumph over the glowy boy. Afterwards, I obtain the Silver Shroud outfit, and much more importantly, the Grognag costume. And with this, I ascend from a mere Switchblade apprentice to a Switchblade master. I demonstrate my newfound Switchblade mastery on Finn in Good Neighbor, buy the destroyer's left leg, relive my wife's death, and begin moonlighting as my new alter ego, the Silver Shroud. I cut through Wayne and AJ with relative ease, have a good laugh as this goon dies and does a pratfall, and kill Kendra before we can converse, like a real hero. I then slaughter my way up mass fusion to obtain the strength bobblehead, and that plus the Grognag costume puts my overall strength at 13. Next on my shopping list was the intelligence bobblehead at the Boston Public Library so I can get the medic perk. I don my sexiest attire, talk my way inside, grab the bobblehead, and then cower in the back room like a little bitch while the robots and turrets cleanse the library for me. I then go bump off Smiling Kate, buy the Destroyer's left arm and Black Ops' right shin guard, and kill Shelley Tiller in the National Guard training yard because I value currency over life. For legal reasons, that was a joke. After killing Northie and his goons, I return to Goodneighbor, only to discover that Kent Connolly has been kidnapped. Say that 5 times fast. Running to the Milton General Hospital, I'm able to one-shot most of Sinjin's gang and quickly make my way to the big man himself. I intimidate his henchmen as the Silver Shroud, snort another line of jet, but can't stop him in time to save Kent. Reloading a save, this time I don't get caught on the stairs, disarm Sinjin with my first thrust, and save Kent Connolly. I also decide to murder my surrendered foes, for the fun of it.
Because that's what heroes do.
And at the end of this quest, I level up, take Big Leagues 3, and now my Switchblade does 51 damage before the Grognag boost. After doing some more upgrading to my armor, I still feel that my defense is a little bit lacking, so I decide to go do jobs for the railroad until I can get the ballistic weave. I know, I'm not happy about it either, but without the ability to wear chest armor because of the Grognag costume, I need some way to bolster my defense. I spend an embarrassing amount of time trying to find the Old North Church, make my way down to the basement, solve the world's easiest puzzle, and get the 3rd degree from Desdemona. I lie to her about my willingness to help synths, and agree to help Deacon retrieve Dr. Carrington's prototype. We meet up at the old highway, kill some ghouls, talk to Ricky Dalton, and sneak in the back way, because even though the option for a frontal assault exists, it doesn't actually work out and you end up having to go the back way anyhow. The illusion of choice, ladies and gentlemen. The synths inside don't give us much trouble, 3 ranks of big leads will do that, and before you know it, we've obtained the prototype and I'm officially inducted into the railroad. Alright, let's get this over with. Dr. Carrington tells us to deal with Old Man Stockton's problem, which turns out to be a group of raiders holed up in a church. I clear them out, wait for Stockton to show up with the synth, and me and my new buddy, High-Rise, escort the synth to the safe house. Well, at least we try to, but High-Rise decides to get stuck behind this light pole for no goddamn reason. We finally get H2 to the safe house, I get to level 17, and Pam tells me to go clear out the Starlight Drive-In to build the new safe house. I deal with the mole rats nesting there, who put up a surprisingly effective evasion maneuver, and report back to Pam for the reason we started this nonsense, the jackpot quests. Pam sends me to the ruined skyscraper to collect a DIA cache that contains, quote, supplies our organization needs, end quote, and she isn't kidding. After stabbing my way past the gunners, I find the cache, take everything of value, and return to collect the best quest reward in the game, Ballistic Weave. With this, I can upgrade my green rag hat to have 65 points of ballistic protection and 75 points of energy protection thanks to the hat's inherent bonus. And with that, I'm finally done with the one-note personality club and can get back to the game proper. I mark Fort Hagen on the map for later and finally go to Park Street Station to rescue Nick Valentine. I kill all the guards at the entrance before they give me any trouble, laugh off the Triggerman's pathetic damage, and then laugh even harder as I obtain Toughness rank 3. God then decides to smile on the run as I find a fortifying metal left arm on a dead Triggerman. I spring Nick, remember that VATS exists, confront Skinny Malone, and take him out along with Darla and his goons. On the surface, I agree to meet Nick in Diamond City, but I'll be making him wait a while because I have one more thing I want to do before facing Kellogg. In Nuka World, there exists a magazine that boosts the damage of Switchblades, combat knives, and Disciples Blades by 25%, and I plan on getting it. I make my way to the Nuka World Transit Center, sneak past the gunners in their Assaultron, get swindled by Harvey, and ride the train to Nuka World. Once there, I get informed that I done fucked up, pixel peep my way through the chain door, and then make a mad dash to the Nuka World junkyard, where I stab an alien and obtain my prize. At this point, I have 14 strength, 3 ranks of big leagues, 2 ranks of bloody mess, a 25% boost from the Grognag costume, and another 25% boost from the Scav magazine, putting the Switchblade at an absurd 102 damage. Unfortunately, I still have to kill Overboss Coulter before I can return to Boston, so that means a run back to/through the gauntlet. Thankfully, it's pretty easy if you know what you're doing. Ignore all these deaths you're seeing, and especially if you bring a hazmat suit for the gas room. Speaking of the gas room, God smiles on me again as I find a mutant slayer switchblade on a legendary rat roach there. And now we get to the controversial part. In order to kill Coulter, I have to use the squirt gun. Some of you may believe that its use here invalidates the run, and that's fair. However, I have a counter-argument. The squirt gun does 0 damage. All it does is turn off Coulter's invincibility and allow me to kill him. I see it as a tool, not a weapon, which is why I'm allowing it. Anyway, I stuff my asshole full of drugs and take him down with incredible ease. I hope now you see why I took this little detour. This magazine is nuts. Back in Boston, I do Nick's interview, steal the key to Frosted Flakes' house, and waltz in like I own the place. I then proceed to raid his pantry, give dog meat a stogie, and fast travel to Fort Hagen because ain't nobody got time for dog meat's bullshit. The synths inside don't give me much trouble, as a single power attack is enough to take them down. In the basement, I don't even give Kellogg the time of day, as I stuff my asshole full of drugs again and kill him in just 2 swings. Back on the surface, I witnessed the Brotherhood of Steel fly in on one of those Led Zeppelins I've heard so much about, and then return to base to drop off my loot. I inform Nick and Piper of my failure to interrogate Kellogg, and Nick informs me of a brothel, stroke science lab, that might be able to help. At the memory den, Nick flirts with Irma, Dr. Amari defiles a corpse, I endure the most boring quest in the game, Bethesda dangles a juicy plot thread and then never capitalizes on it, and now I have the pleasure of traipsing through the glowing sea. The run over there is fairly uneventful, aside from me picking up an Unstoppables magazine, and a family of rad scorpions trying to rip me a new asshole. I nope my way past a Deathclaw, and inside the rocky cave, I meet Shrek's smarter cousin, who tells me to go kill a courser. I teleport to Green Tech Genetics and start cutting a path through the gunners. At this point, their leather chest pieces are no match for the god of switchblades, as even the legendary gunner can't withstand more than 3 swings. Getting to the top level, I stuff my asshole full of drugs again, this time with feeling, and with 4 thrusts of my knife, I leave the man in the leather outfit covered in bodily fluids on the floor.
If you know what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about stabbing a man to death with a switchblade. Get your head out of the gutter, pervert. I return to the railroad to have the courser chip decoded, give Virgil the decoded data, and he gives me the signal interceptor plans. I finally return to the Brotherhood at the Cambridge police station, and then Dance and I take a heavily armed chopper ride to the Prydwen. After introducing myself to the crew, Elder Maxon sends me to deal with the super mutants at Fort Strong. Instead of taking a vertebrate there, I decide to take a casual stroll across the beach and face the green meanies head on. Thanks to my mutant slayer switchblade, this ordeal goes surprisingly well, except for the behemoth, which kept turning me into a pancake with that fire hydrant of his. I briefly consider continuing the game with the railroad to avoid the wrath of the roided out mutant, but quickly come to my senses when I remember I can abuse the AI's pathing to cheese a victory. Inside the fort, the mutants don't fare much better, and before you know it, the fort is greenskin free, I report back to Maxon, we build the signal interceptor, and I zap myself into the Institute. Once inside, I listen to my real son ramble on about the glory of the Institute, my fake son tells me to fuck off, and I murder Sean in cold blood, like I said I would in the beginning. I report back to Elder Maxon about my insubordination, and instead of court-martialing me, or making me mop rain for the next 5 years, he says he respects me, and that conveniently he has a second candidate to help rebuild Liberty Prime. Back on the ground, I give Ingram the Institute holotape, she tells me about Professor Skara, gives me a gadget to show her, and now I'm off to Diamond City to go collect her. Unfortunately, our professor is in another castle, so now I have to go run over to the General Atomics Galleria and deal with the Mr. Handies. I talk to the director, and he tells me he needs to see my ID. I say, nuh-uh, to which he concurs, and gives me the run of the place. I locate Professor Skara, pull out my gadget and show it to her.
If you know...
Nope, already did that joke, and she agrees to help the Brotherhood. I stop by Good Neighbor to pick up a magnet, build some more magnets for Proctor Ingram, and now I have to traipse back through the glowing sea to pick up some bombs that I'm sure will only be used for peaceful purposes. I make a pit stop to betray Virgil, pussyfoot around the Deathclaw I never killed, and make it to Sentinel Site relatively unscathed. Inside, I break my legs jumping off a ledge, stab my way past the zombie horde, and talk with a crazy-ass nutjob who I convinced to let me steal his holy relics. On my way out, I find a sentinel's arm, which would have been great if it wasn't a left arm. That's what I get for swindling an honest nutjob, I guess. Back on the Pridwin, Elder Maxon informs me that Paladin Dance is a filthy toaster and must be exterminated. Having felt a sense of bloodlust ever since murdering my own son, I enthusiastically agree to kill my former colleague. Dr. Quinlan brings me up to speed on the situation. I make a promise to scribe Halen to hear out Dance, and then promptly break that promise by stabbing Dance in the neck. After divvying up Dance's shit, Captain Kells rewards me for killing a superior officer by sending me to exterminate the cult of Choo Choo Charles. After all the bullshit they put me through to get the ballistic weave, I'm going to take great pleasure in this purge. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. After I'm done bathing in the blood of my enemies, Proctor Ingram says Liberty Prime is almost done, save for his power source. Before I retrieve the beryllium agitator, I upgrade my hat to Ballistic Weave Mark IV, raising my defense to a grand total of 240 standard defense and 213 energy defense. I take a vertebra to mass fusion and sit there and do nothing until it takes enough damage, forcing it to land and allow me to go to town with the Switchblade. After clearing out the synths on the roof, I take the easy way out by jumping off the building into Good Neighbor. Didn't quite stick the landing the first time, but on my second attempt I successfully exploit the game and make my way into the basement. Inside, I rip the agitator from its womb, get blinded by a sentry bot, murder its friends, and then go to the lobby, not only to get myself some snacks, but to clear out the synths infesting it. I return to the Boston airport to power up Liberty Prime, and instead of following him to the CIT ruins like some sort of schmuck, I fast travel there, where conveniently Liberty Prime has teleported with me. Prime has a stroke and just scans this building for a minute, but eventually finds his marbles and blows a hole into the Institute. Once inside, I level up and take the 4th rank of Big Leagues, raising my Switchblade's damage to a final total of 122. The synths inside don't put up much of a fight, aside from the fact they learned that by punching me, they could delay their inevitable demise. I stab a few innocent scientists, gawk at Father's magically reclothed corpse, and lift the lockdown using the code HERO. The corpses of the scientists I just murdered would disagree with that designation. I place the bomb in the reactor, decide to take my fake son with me, blow the whole place to hell, and arguably beat Fallout 4 with only a Switchblade. And that's it. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you Carl Casey at White Bat Audio for the royalty-free music you heard throughout this video. My name is Mr. Monotone96, and I'll see y'all later.